Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Good evening and welcome to the January 5th, 2017 Lowell Planning Board, and Happy New Year to all. We do have some minutes for approval. I'll ask if we can hold off and do those after we take care of the public hearings, if there's no objections. Hearing none. The first matter on the agenda is the site plan review for 100 Chelmsford Street. The applicant is proposing to construct a 28,100 square foot addition to the existing building with 87 new parking spaces, new internal access roads, stormwater management, landscaping, and associated utilities. The site is located in the high-rise commercial zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening. For the record, I'm Steve Glowacki with R.J. O'Connell Associates. We're the civil engineers on the project. With me here today is Jeff Checkaway from PMRG and Bob Flynn from Calaire. I think it's best if I step up there and present from that area if you prefer.
That's fine.
So the project consists of, currently it's at 100 Chelmsford Street. It consists of 3 parcels, actually, although a majority of the building will be taking place at 144 Chelmsford Street, which is to the south portion of the property. Let me set this down. So the 3 parcels in question are 100 Chelmsford Street, 144, and then 121 Hale Street. So we considered this campus-wide, although, as I mentioned, the improvements are specifically along Chelmsford Street for the most part. The project, of course, is fronts on Chelmsford Street, and it's bordered to the northwest by the MBTA tracks, and then to the southwest by Hale Street. So the proposed project considers building a approximate 55,200 square foot building addition, which will consist primarily of office space. Currently, there's manufacturing and office in the existing building at 100 Chelmsford Street, but the intent would be to, God bless you, but the intent would be to move the office functions over to the new building, while the remaining portion would remain manufacturing, light manufacturing. The building at 121 Hale Street would remain research and development, very light manufacturing. The project proposes to construct or improve the parking areas and construct some new parking areas for a total of 454 parking spaces. We only require, as you can see the tables and the materials presented, we only require 347. So the intent would be to provide additional parking here and improve the parking here, and then we would have a comprehensive stormwater management system which would handle the proposed conditions. In terms of vehicular access, that would be maintained through an existing entryway over here, which would be slightly improved, and then we propose to connect these 2 properties so that we would be adding essentially vehicular movements. We'd be able to bring vehicles in through the south portion of the site as well as the north. It would help redistribute traffic quite a bit and alleviate traffic in the neighboring streets. Truck access and service vehicle access would be provided through an existing, there's an existing roadway across the north of the site. We intend to widen that slightly to facilitate larger vehicles through here. And the entirety of the service would all happen on the north side of the building, independent of the employees in the operations associated with that. We have, as you can see in the materials, we've provided a fire truck turning vehicle plan, which shows the full maneuvers for fire trucks and things like that. And I believe we had some comment from the fire department. They were satisfied with what they saw on the plans. If I may, I'll discuss stormwater very briefly. And again, I'll go broad brush strokes, and then if you, of course, want to get deeper in the detail, I'm happy to do so. As I mentioned, stormwater management will be provided for these new areas and enhanced. So we will be reducing stormwater runoff, and this stormwater management system has been fully vetted and I believe reviewed by your city engineer, Ms. Demio. We are proposing to improve stormwater quality as well, as we're introducing particle separators as well as infiltration systems. So the increase in the stormwater treatment will be quite significant. In addition, we're proposing some rain garden systems over here to add some very green-friendly, if you will, BMPs. Other utilities will be provided. Sanitary will be provided to the west, out to a connection in Chelmsford Street. Most of the building utilities will be pulled from the existing building, so there won't be many changes there. And it's a relatively simple system, but again, very effective. I won't get much into landscaping other than to say that we have a comprehensive landscape plan. And specifically, we had a pre-application meeting with staff, who, by the way, I want to say was very, very helpful with us through the project. I really appreciate that. But one of the concerns was a small service area along here. We wanted to enhance the planting along this strip quite a bit, and as well as the other areas within the site. And as you can see, the plan has a rather campus feel. So it's enclosed by the buildings, and there's quite a bit of lawn and outdoor spaces over here, as well as enhanced perimeter plantings to really beef the project up. And as you may know, if you're familiar with the area, it does not have the greatest appeal. And you can see, this is, of course, a Google image. But when we're all said and done, we anticipate the project looking something like that. So it's quite exciting, and I believe it'll be quite an improvement to the area, as well as the improvements that we're making to stormwater and so forth. So if there's any questions, I can certainly delve into any nuts and bolts as deep as you'd like.
Okay, we'll go with the presentation, pick up the questions and answers later.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Anybody else
much.
from your team wants to give any presentations? And then we'll hear from the public as well, and then we can do a question and answer if need be.
No, I think we covered everything sufficient, and myself and the team are here to answer questions if need be.
So nobody else from your team wants to speak at this time? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Anybody here this evening from the public who wants to speak in favor of this project? In favor? In favor? Anybody here want to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? This time I'll turn it over to the board members. Any board members have any comments or concerns? Mr. Boyle, you want to go first?
Thank you, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman. Looking at this graphic here, are you replacing the fence along Chelmsford Street?
That's right. The intent is to replace the fence, and I think we're looking at different styles of fence, but I believe they want to do something that's a little bit more ornate, that would help add to the appeal of laced in with the new landscaping and things like that.
That's great, that's great. It's a very attractive appearance there. It's got a bit of a, I'd say, from Chelmsford Street, sort of a prison yard vibe to it right now. And working on the fence, putting that attractive facade up against the street like that, I think this is going to be very positive, and it's a very good project from a lot of different perspectives, but for its contribution to the neighborhood, to the streetscape, I think that's one that really makes me feel good about this.
Thanks for the positive comments.
My other question is your parking. You're providing more than 100 spaces over what the zoning requires.
That's right. There's obviously the requirements based on zoning, which we meet and, as you mentioned, exceed. And the importance of that is operationally, MACOM has a certain amount of spaces they need to operate to sufficiently provide for their employees. So, and we have a sort of a survey of what the employees are and the mix would be. So we believe that it is sufficient to have that number of spaces.
So you, based on the specific use and that they're going to be, number of people working in the offices, number of people in they do require that many spaces?
That's right, yes.
Even, well, one of the best things about this project is the connection you're building to the LRTA facility. And when you're coming up with your parking needs, did you take into account the possibility of increased public transit access?
Yes, the operations and the number that we have is based on the fact that there is an existing connection, there's a connection that already exists to the MBTA facility. So we're enhancing that and improving it. So any parking requirements that the, MACOM would need is based on what exists today, which, as I mentioned, they already do take into consideration who's visiting the site. And we thought it important with such a spread of parking to enhance the landscaping quite a bit. That's why we provided so many planted islands, large plaza areas to help offset what could be perceived as a sea of pavement. So we wanted to avoid that.
Yeah, the city's under a consent agreement about its stormwater situation, about the CSOs. An extra 100 parking spaces, a little back of the envelope calculation, could come out to about half an acre or more of land. From the city's point of view, I wouldn't want to see you pave it, adding a half acre of a more impervious surface than you really need because you think it's because you're doing it to make us happy.
Can you come to the microphone, please, sir, and state your name for the record, please?
Bob Flynn with Claire Properties, one of the owners. One of the things that we have to accommodate also is that MACOM is a 7/24-hour process. So when there's shift changes, we need to make sure that there's room for people coming in to park while the existing employees are on campus. And as Steve was saying earlier, this is the front of the building. We've done extensive research with the employees, where they come from, who's taking public transportation. But that's just the one piece of the whole campus site. MACOM has dedicated time and money, and we've partnered up with them to make a complete campus, make this a worldwide headquarters, that they're going to bring people in. And they want to make this proud. As John, the CEO, stated, he says, we spend a lot of time here. Let's enjoy coming here. And so that's kind of the goal here. But on the parking, and, we understand that, the green space needs and drainage, but there is a concern of shift changes. So when people come in, they're not parking where they shouldn't be. There's enough for, people coming in, then people leaving. It's a constant, they're a constant flow of traffic.
Okay, well, if you need the spaces, you need the spaces. Once you're in, as you're operating, if you're looking at coming back at some point in the future for even further work on the site, and there's reason to believe that you are increasing the percentage of your employees who are taking public transit, or you can get away without as much paving. By all means, don't feel like we're pushing paving on you. But if you need it, you need it. All right. Yeah, okay, that was really the only thing I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I would say that in visiting the site, I've probably gone by there 1,000 times. I really didn't pay much attention to the building all those years. And driving into the site, it was amazing how close that is to the Gallagher Terminal, and really the project on Thorndike Street, the mill project, as well as Keith Academy condos, which is just amazing how close it was to those locations. A lot of positive things happening here, kind of in a way redirecting traffic down Hale Street, which, as noted by the traffic engineer, should take some traffic counts down slightly on Thorndike Street. And I think that obviously that's a positive thing. The memo, and I don't know, Judy, if the DPD have an opportunity to review this thoroughly, the memo dated January 4th. I did look at it this afternoon. I thought it was pretty thorough. I liked the way it was a very systemic way of answering the various elements.
Yes, Steve and I have had pretty good communication throughout the review process, so I knew that the letter was coming. I had sent him all the department reviews as they came in, and he did tell me that he was going to be sending the comment letter, so I did definitely review that today.
There was one issue on here, and then ask Judy if there's anything else that there may be some concerns from DPD, but on comment number 5 regarding the sidewalk, and looking at the memo from Nick, the city's traffic engineer, and I'm, be honest with you, I'm a little unclear as to what the physical challenge is here. So if you could get into that, because I think there's some tremendous opportunity to even further enhance the streetscape, but also, when we talk about complete streets, there's a great opportunity here to take advantage of that. And it appears that, at least from speaking with the tree warden, there was some challenges, but I truly am not clear as to what was given in this memo as the reason for not being able to do it versus what was being recommended. So if you could kind of touch
If I
base
may,
on that.
I think the plans may help.
I appreciate that.
Let's see. Here we go. The concerns along the edge, and I believe that the traffic engineer brought up a very good point about what could be done along this area. Unfortunately, given the width of the street, we really only have about 6 feet from the sidewalk to the edge of the property. So the challenge in trying to fit a wider sidewalk, if you will, to facilitate, for instance, a bike path, that type of work, we believe, would have to be in conjunction with something happening on Chelmsford Street itself. And from our initial conversations, our pre-application meeting, I understood that at some point the city was considering some improvements along here to incorporate those things. So we think perhaps it may be premature to try to do something that would compromise the current street condition without understanding what the city may request to do at a future time. But as I mentioned in the memo, we are very literally limited between the curb edge, and keep in mind, this is a parking, a lane, and then parking on this side of the street. So we are very congested as to how much space we have to work with between the property line. And we also have we're a little compromised on the room on the other side, so we wanted to provide some space in here to have adequate planting and screening along this edge. So that's where the comment about the space concerns came in.
Now, Judy, what was the DPD's position on, because I think it was suggested with some possible bump outs or increasing the width for bike lane, it appeared that the city was resigned to the fact that it may result in the loss of some on-street parking.
Well, there is quite a bit of width on Chelmsford Street. So there's quite a bit of right-of-way. The lane is pretty wide. There is parking right there. There's the bike lane. And I guess we were thinking of, working with the applicant to, we first of all, we want to save some trees. We want to improve, and the applicants expressed the desire to improve that sidewalk and to save the trees at the same time. And if we could work with them to maybe widen the sidewalk, relocate some of the parking. I know Nicholas has some plans. He doesn't have detailed plans right now for, replacing some of the bike lanes that aren't quite, utilized as they should, and replace them with a bike lane on a sidewalk where it would be more widely used. And then you could basically move that bike lane and then still have the parking because the width is so wide.
Okay, because I got the impression the city was open to that going
Yes.
out into, okay. And from what I could see, at least in that particular location, I don't think there's a tremendous amount of demand for the on-street parking in that particular location. Did we take a look at that at all?
I was out there this week, and I actually didn't see a lot of parking on that side.
Yeah, no, I was out there on Monday, and I didn't see anybody, and some people were home. You people were working, and the parking lot was full, I would say. Certainly that would have to be incorporated in any decision, I think. That would be
Yeah, so,
made.
it was something that we would just wanted to, discuss with the applicant, maybe work with them to, first of all, improve the sidewalk conditions and save the trees.
Right.
And then see what we could do about widening the sidewalk. You know, again, Nicholas did not have a specific plan, but we wanted to, you know, work with the applicant on it.
Yeah, and that was my impression as well, that the city, Nicholas was very interested in that something would happen at some point in there. And, you know, what we had proposed were modest fixes, repairs to the heaving sidewalk, but certainly in light of his comment, we thought, well, they may have a more comprehensive plan for this. So I'd love to see what the city would have for that, and something that maybe we can work to come up with something.
So what would be the applicant's role? And because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's city property. I mean, what would you envision the applicant's?
Well, in terms of the applicant's role, we would, you know, look at the areas of the sidewalk that needed to be replaced. If there are some bump outs that would be needed to save the trees, maybe work that into our plan. Again, that, you know, our priority, of course, is the sidewalk and saving the trees.
So I understand that you would be amenable to, and if we made it a condition, is to work in conjunction with the city, and if there were any recommendations, that you would be willing to, because I mean, obviously there's some dollar involved here, as far as the cost, so, that you would be willing to work with the city in providing some assistance? Is that?
Yes, we would be. And I think the immediate, and it's something that if you look, one of the first things as the progress, or as you know, the whole project goes forward is, with the city, I think if they're city-owned trees, is that correct?
Yes, they are city trees,
You know,
yeah.
we'd go to the city, because one of the things is we'd like to kind of prune them. I don't know when the last time they've been pruned, but, you know, when we purchase properties or something like that, one of the first things you do is curb appeal. Right? Get rid of the, you know, prune or replace some of the landscaping that's just past its useful life.
Yeah, actually, when Patrick and I took a walk down, and there was a car parked on Chelmsford Street with a tree limb dangling over the car.
But, and I think that's one of the things that you know, to clean up that whole project, the simple things of, let's prune the trees first. I drove by the site the other day, the sidewalk, where the trees are, they've upheaved, but I think the town, it looks like they put asphalt over it to prevent a severe tripping hazard. But, you know, moving forward, I think we'd like to keep as many trees as possible. I think it's beneficial, and with the fence that we're proposing to put in, it'll just add to the trees in the aesthetics. But down the road, and, you know, it's hard to say what the town's plans are, but we're definitely, you know, as owners, and, you know, we'd have to talk to the tenant of this, is saying, you know, we would definitely, it makes sense to work as a partner with the town as well.
Okay, good. And I think from the memo from DPD, Judy, and I looked at their response, I think that covered all of the elements, all the items that were listed. And I think even you, the applicant alluded to being open to a site monitor, which I know we're seeing more of that. So I think you've indicated that the applicant would work with the site monitor to ensure construction is complete in a satisfactory manner. So I think you're open to having a site monitor.
Yeah, certainly we'd like to understand the role of the site monitor. Would that be something, I know, for instance, I'll sidetrack a bit, but we had a recent project over by Plain Street, and I know the city engineer had sent out staff to monitor different parts of the installation of the utilities. Is that something you have in mind?
Yeah, the engineering office does have a person who does go out to the field and looks at pavement projects and some utility work.
Yes.
And so we look at site monitor as the person, and it would be, you know, a PE. It could be, you know, someone from your firm who would be monitoring the installation of the stormwater systems, even something as simple as monitoring the construction entrance and making sure that, you know, sediment control is all properly looked after, that there's not sediment or stockpile, everything is stockpiled, the site is neat and clean. and also working with our own engineer on, installation of utilities, and it's all of the site work that is not involved with the construction of the building.
Right, what would this,
And we would agree with, we would tend to work with you as far as the schedules. Sometimes it would be just a monthly, one-page report, and maybe that we only have reports after storm events.
it's important to note, part of our role through a project, and we see this as our role through the construction of a project, is to frequently do those things, monitor installation utilities and such, because quite selfishly, at the end of a project, an owner will ask for an engineer certification. So we have to certify that these utilities were installed in accordance with the plan. So we do have to witness that, and that's part of what we would consider our construction administration. In terms of the erosion control measures and things, because this site disturbance is going to be much larger than an acre, it's subject to the NIPDs, of course, which requires the applicant, the construction, the contractor rather, to ensure that those measures are in place and cataloged. Otherwise it was subject to even fines from the EPA. So those are inherently part of our plan already as part of the construction. So I think it's...
Right, so what we would probably then just request that you provide us just regular reports of the work that you're already doing.
Sure.
My name's Jeff Checkaway. I'm with PMRG with the owner side. And one of the things too that we are typically planning on for the construction process is, hiring a third-party geotechnical inspection firm that's on site, watching the installation of a lot of the pavement, the stormwater systems, a lot of times doing testing on concrete mix and slump tests and those sorts of things, and even for the structure of the building typically. So we do have someone on site, probably not every day, but as the project progresses, 1 day, 2 days, maybe 3 days a week, doing regular inspections, testing while our contractor is installing all the different elements of the site and the building.
So just even having, a periodic report from you would really help us, and that would satisfy the requirement.
And then, Judy, would that be addressed to the engineers department, DPD, or the building department?
That would be to DPD.
DPD, okay.
And we would probably, share that with other departments, with the building inspector and with engineering.
Sure.
Good. And then, and I saw where you were, the curb cut on Hale Street you revised that to 32 feet, so that it doesn't require a variance, right? Is that correct? So you made
Well, yeah, I believe we can, I'll tell you, the main access point at Chelmsford Street, it's a pre-existing width, so all we did was tie into the existing width
Right.
for that. And certainly for this, so I want to make it clear, the roadway itself is actually 30 feet wide, and I think the reason it's measured at 32 because the radius, the radii of both of these combined ends up being about 32. We can narrow that down if it avoids having to go to the zoning
Well, I
board.
think the plan had it at 40 feet.
Yeah,
if I remember.
32 is what we
Correct,
want.
yeah, the plan.
Well, there's two different
That
things.
was the comment on the,
Yeah, the 40 feet, I think, speaks to the Chelmsford piece over here, the pre-existing, what I call the pre-existing piece. And then the 32 feet, I believe, was over here, and then maybe there was a commentary about 32, I believe, down at the Hale Street entry. So those could be easily adjusted to avoid, I think, it doesn't sound like the town objects to it, but it would be another step that we'd have to.
right, and I guess I'm looking for just clarification on whether that's going to be a variance or not. And I guess I'm still not clear then.
Well, I think I may have.
Chelmsford Street was, 40 feet wide, proposed new driveway. On Hale Street has it at 36 feet wide, and I think, and the maximum curve is 32. So we had Hale Street at 36, and we had Chelmsford at 40.
Right, and I guess the question is, would a variance be required if this is a pre-existing width?
No, it wouldn't be, no.
Okay. So my thought process was that we would leave this pre-existing width, and this I could narrow down and slightly modify the radii to avoid that
Yep,
condition.
All right, good.
It'd save you a public hearing with the zoning board.
that was the thought, you know? And it sounds like the town doesn't object either way, but it would save the process, you know?
Right.
And we could easily facilitate the turns with that minor modification.
All right, and I think, I commend you for, I think, when you look at the memo, when you look at even the comments, I think it's clear that when you say you've been working in conjunction with DPD, sometimes we have somebody say that, but the evidence suggests otherwise.
Well, it's really,
But,
it's a testament to your department, your staff, been very helpful, I can't say enough.
And deservedly so, and it's not the first time we've heard that, so they've actually been critically acclaimed through the state over the years, so.
Rightfully so.
We are lucky as a city to have the staff. I think that's all the comments I had, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Teske?
First, I think it's a very well thought-out, well-presented project, and I find your traffic improvements and the addressing of the intermodal aspects of it, you know, are very beneficial. And also, you know, you've addressed all of the city comments, and it appears that, you know, with some of the minor modifications that were just discussed in terms of curb cuts and so forth, you've addressed all the city's concerns, so I would not have any issues with this project as it exists.
Thank you very much.
Briefly, just only have a couple comments. I'm glad to see, as what the other board members said, how you worked with staff, and actually, you know, you incorporated all the comments from the engineering, from planning staff, as well as the traffic engineer. A lot of times, I know when you read those traffic comments, sometimes they're helpful, and sometimes you're like, I don't know how we're gonna get around those, but in this case, it looks like you answered all the questions they had. Looked like Nick was very satisfied with everything you did to work out. So usually, if we have a project this side, usually transportation is usually an issue, how you getting in and out of there. Sure. Something that big, but obviously, by working with everybody ahead of time, you really reduced the amount of comments that we have, and, you know, we have the table of parking as well. I see you took care of all the handicap parking, which is very appropriate, and the way you broke down the comment referred to how they're brought out by all the departments. I think you did a good job, and I think this will be a good project. Like you say, it's right there by the LRTA. It's a big site, but it's, you know, you're on an existing site and you're adding to it. I think it's not gonna have a big major effect to the city. I think it'll be a very good project when it's completed, so I'm in favor of the project as well.
Thank you very much.
And thank you again for complimenting our staff. We appreciate that.
I appreciate it, thanks.
So any further comments from the board, or if not, what's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the plan with incorporating the, all of the elements in the memo from January 4th, from the applicant responding to all of the department concerns, and adding the following two conditions, where the applicant will work with DPD to enhance the sidewalk along Chelmsford Street to save, including the saving of street trees, including the inclusion of bike lanes as determined by DPD. Applicant to provide regular progress reports to DPD as the project progresses.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Mr. Senti seconded it, motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition, hearing none, the motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Wish you well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Steve, how long would it take to complete something like that? I'm just curious, how long does that take to complete a project that size, to do all that?
There's obviously a few different processes, but we're hoping to, you know, get everything lined up to break ground from a site work standpoint, and, you know, as the weather permits in the spring. And there's some transition with the existing building and moving some people around, but it's, you know, we're looking somewhere around August of 2018 for the complete final project to be done. But, you know, we could have a lot of pieces in place by, you know, the end of the year or early 2018.
Well, good luck with it, thank you again. Wish you well.
Out of curiosity, once this project is done, do you think that this maxes out the site and it will be done, or is there a chance you could be coming back for more space at some point in the future? We'd like to think more space. Yeah. Yep, well, especially where this is directly next to the train station, the MBTA station, I think the city would look very favorably upon a big build-out on the property if that's the direction that the owner and the company wanted to go in.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, the next matter will be a pre-application discussion on 1 East Merrimack Street. This matter is for pre-application, therefore it does not require a vote. It's an informal discussion. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Chairman Linehan, gentlemen. My name's Attorney John Cox, 375 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent Kennedy Waterfront Trust, Dave Daly, who's proposing this project. Let me say at the outset, this is obviously preliminary discussion because we haven't filed anything with the planning board yet. However, tomorrow morning, a full set of plans will be filed with you guys, and I think we are looking at coming back before you on February the 6th. I want to say also at the outset that dealing with Diane and Judy and Christine from DPD has been unbelievable. They're very, very helpful. We've talked to them, communicated with them, and met with them on many occasions, as well as many other department heads pertaining to this project. The reason we wanted to come down and speak with you before the application, a formal application, is because we think this is a huge project for the city. And you may have seen some things in the newspaper pertaining to it. We were in front of the Conservation Commission last month to receive our order of conditions for demolition of the existing building on East Merrimack Street. And so there has been some initial discussion about it, and we certainly wanted to come here before this board to give you at least a preliminary overview of what we're looking at in the hopes of when we come back here in February, maybe getting a little bit ahead of the curve if that's possible. Mr. Daly's proposing, and this site is one that we all know, especially all of us from Lowell, the old Dillons, Chevys. There's been many, many things for a long time, and it has been really nothing for a long time, too, when you stop and think about it. So Mr. Daly has brought this task on. He's in the process, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, again, of demolishing what is there now in the hopes of a springtime, summer construction commencement. What he's proposing is something that, and I've thought about this for a long time. I don't remember in my lifetime, I don't remember being in this city, certainly recently, a project such as this. He's proposing 12 stories on this site, as you can see there in front of you, 66 luxury condo units. And on the first floor, a restaurant, a gym, and a coffee shop. This will be luxury living in the downtown like I have never seen in the city of Lowell. It will be new construction, obviously. It will be for sale, and it will be high-end, market rate condos. We expect a $25 to $30 million investment in this project, which we are projecting would result in anywhere near to $450,000 to $500,000 annual taxes for the city of Lowell, as well as hundreds of jobs, literally. It would also work with the Concord River Greenway, which I know this board's been involved with over the years. This will actually be the final piece of connecting the Concord River Greenway to the downtown, and it will come right through this property, adjacent to the property. It's an exciting time for this area. We think that this project will be a catalyst for future development of the East Merrimack Street corridor, which I think all of us would say has been maybe a bit neglected over the years for whatever reasons. This would really give a boost to that area. We don't think there'd be much impact on city services. Clearly, we don't think people who are going to be living in these condos would necessarily have children. We think it's probably the older, look at me, I'm saying older people, but people, the empty nest people who have the money to maybe sell a home in Belvedere or Centerville or Pawtuckettville or where have you, and want to move downtown to the city and enjoy all of that. This would really enhance that, and this would be a type of living that we have not seen, or a type of project we have not seen in the city of Lowell. We've worked closely with the parking department with the city of Lowell and have agreements with them as far as parking in the Davidson Street or the garage. Again, we think it's a good spot for the city of Lowell, bringing in higher type jobs, Kronos and some of those companies that the city has attracted. This would be a great spot for people in those high level positions to live. So we're really excited about it. We look forward to working with this board clearly and the ZBA, which will be going for our variance and special permit. But this is really going to be a special project in the city, and one we're very excited about, and one that we want to come to you and initially to have a general discussion. And again, we know you don't have anything in front of you, so it's hard to ask any questions, but if you have them, we certainly are here to answer them. And we look forward on February the 6th to continue a more in-depth discussion on this project.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak with your team tonight?
Jack Sullivan?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. For the record, my name is Jack Sullivan, Gavin and Sullivan Architects here in Lowell. To reiterate what Attorney Cox has said, this is a very exciting project. I've been practicing in this city for almost 40 years, believe it or not, and have never had anybody as ambitious as Mr. Daley to come in with high-end, luxury, full concierge service condominiums. I'm downtown every day, and this is really taking on a life of its own. I'm always being approached by people, when's it going to happen? When's it going to start? Is it really going to happen? I believe the fact of the matter is it is. We have been dealing with your staff for a couple of months now, and they've been very helpful. A lot of good ideas also. The exterior building, it's a glass tower, very similar to what we did at Tremont Yard, where Jean Doc Credit Union is now. We'll be using a mixture of limestone and glass, some composite metals. It'll be the new coming out of the old. And an important feature is that connecting the Concord River Greenway, which selfishly goes right behind my office, is a real bonus to me. We have a total of 66 units, 11 one-bedrooms. The rest, 2 bedrooms, go anywhere from 800 square feet to 2,500 square feet. Again, the first floor is food services, restaurant, gym, sauna, and a residence lounge with a nice patio outside, some green area. Everything will be done in the green vernacular, with the building. Total gross square footage will be 125,000 square feet. Large building, but again, only 66 units. So I look forward to dealing with the board on this. I think it's very exciting.
Jack, what's the zone for that exactly?
DMU?
DMU, okay.
Yep.
I know there's a different couple of zones how it's cut up down there. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns.
I just have one that jumps out at me at this point, if you don't mind. What complications, what issues do you see to dealing with the canal? I know it sits basically right on the canal.
Excellent question. We have a meeting tomorrow with our structural engineers. We do have a demolition permit. Part of the building, the thumb, if you will, towards East Merrimack Street has a full basement in it. So we've had a lot of geotech work done, but we can't finish our geotech work until the building is down. So it's going to be a symphony of taking the building down, reinforcing the walls. Probably the structure will be built on pilings because we don't want to put any lateral load on that existing wall, and we'll go up from there. So, but we have a very capable team that's handling this.
Yeah, because when I saw in the papers, first one, it said, how do you secure all that with the canal
Yeah,
right there? I said,
yeah.
but I'm sure there's a way to do it, but,
Well, the walkway itself is 8 feet wide, so our building is at least 8 feet off of the wall. So, and we did do a couple of borings, and we're down 39 feet, I believe, to bedrock. So we'll be driving piles down there. Yeah.
because I'm sure those are some tests you'd do before you even came before us.
Oh, absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
to figure out,
Before we put pencil to paper, we had to do some
yeah,
tests.
figure out what you're getting into
Yeah,
by, and, you know,
yeah.
cost and how you do it.
Yeah.
You know, and how that holds, that structure and everything else.
Yeah.
The only other thing that jumps out at me is, how do you take care of the open space with something that big there?
I'm not sure I understand the open
Usually we
space.
need like so much open space when we do a project, you know, and it goes by the zone, what percentage it is.
Well, that's the other Jack Sullivan, the engineer.
Okay.
There's two Jack Sullivans on this
All
project.
right, I'm just curious.
I'm the
'Cause you-
good one.
That's why I asked what the zone is, because each zone has a different percentage
I know.
for the open
Yeah,
space, so I just,
yeah. But we are reducing the impervious surface by 22%, believe it
Oh,
or
you
not.
are? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
we are.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. Right now, the entire site, 15,000 square feet, Jack, is paved and building. So we'll be down to a 10,500 square foot footprint.
okay.
So we're creating green space, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to answer your question, they're exempt in the DMU.
On the DMZ, okay, that was one of my questions, what the zone was, okay.
Required open
So they don't
space.
need the open space, okay.
Right.
All right, thank you, that was, okay. All right. Any of the board members have any questions? That's all I had. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments and then a couple of questions. Obviously, and this is in keeping with I think, a lot of people want to see in the city is market rate housing in the downtown. And we talk about going back to, I think, Mr. Cox, when you were manager, when we were talking about creating critical mass in the downtown in order to support businesses that are here and people that want to experience an urban you know, have that urban experience and have the disposable income to help support businesses that can develop into the downtown. So I think that that's a critical element, and it's in the I guess we would call it our own theater district as well, and which is obviously I think is an attraction. But having said that, almost a double-edged sword. Has there been any in taking a look at the parking and looking at the impact of the site, any consideration when talking with the city as far as like evening events at the auditorium? You know, I was at the Pops for the holidays, and, you know, boy, the Davidson Street lot, you couldn't even get in there, and just curious as to if that's been taken into account.
Well, we've certainly spoken with the I forget the gentleman's name now, but the gentleman in charge of parking for the city. And we actually have a letter that he's given us that the city will ensure so many spaces. I believe it's 68 spaces at this point between either Davidson Street or the garage across the way. So we expect the people living here to be working. And so we expect that most of their parking needs will come overnight, where both of those lots would be less utilized. I understand what you're saying on special events and what have you, but they don't seem to think that's going to be an issue, and you know, so they've been very, very, very cooperative, so.
Okay, no, I'm sure we'll get some comments from
Yeah,
staff.
sure.
But, yeah.
But that's what, we've already worked on that,
Sure.
begun that work, yeah.
Sure,
It's a very good point, though.
Okay, and then just curiosity as to what do you see as these are going to be for sale, not for rent. What do you see as the sales price on these per unit? I'm just curious.
Well, Mr. Daly would want to put the highest sale, he would say $5 million, I'm sure.
I did a little math when you were talking about some of the 25 to 30 million. but I just-
Hopefully, we're hoping, but, you know, clearly, it's funny, when I talked to Dave about this originally, I remember in 2000, 2001, when, in this city, when people were renovating the old mills and some of that space, that old abandoned space, and saying they might get $200,000 for a condo in downtown Lowell, and me saying, you gotta be nuts, to myself, obviously. I'm not gonna get $200,000 downtown Lowell. They were getting $500,000, they were getting $400,000. And so it really, it works, you know, and so I think clearly he's interested in the big numbers here, you know, and he thinks the work that Mr. Daly has done on this and looking at the demographics and what have you, that you know, he can be up in a 5, 6, 7, whatever range, you know? So, I mean, they're gonna be beautiful units, they're gonna be big units, they're gonna have amenities that no place else in the city has. And as we all know, people wanna live in the city, and makes us feel good, clearly, and we love to see that, people either coming in from the neighborhoods or coming in from the suburbs. And David would take either one, suburbs or neighborhoods, but we hope there'll be a combination of both.
Oh, great, great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any other
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned your discussions with the city about parking. They had brought up the Davidston Street lot, and you said the garage, that's the Lower Locks garage?
Yeah, yes, Low Locks, yes.
How far away is that? Ballpark?
It's within that 1,500-foot
Yeah, it
linear
can't
feet.
be 5 minutes.
Okay.
You come over that,
You walk over the bridge,
the bridge
Right.
behind Middlesex, and then,
Yep.
probably 800 to 1,000 feet away, I'd say. You know?
Okay.
And I think, back to Mr. Frechette's question about events, when there's events, we've all been down in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium when events take place, and that parking lot gets really backed up. I've had the luxury for the last 4 years to be able to park behind my building, but that's hopefully not going to be there's going to be, that won't be the situation in a year or so. But, you know, they can, I think the residents will know when there's an event there, and they can go to the Lower Locks as well. And I think there's also talk about a potential parking garage there at some point. That's very preliminary at this point in that area. Obviously, the parking in downtown is a very difficult situation at this point. But you know, the other thing with this is these residents, it's for overnight parking too. So, you know, there is a pretty intense parking dilemma during the day there when Middlesex is in school. So we don't anticipate that to be an issue because it's for overnight parking. Plus, we're going to have bike racks. We're going to push the urban style of living. And John had mentioned this is a lifestyle type living. This is something we're trying to push, that people want to be part of almost a community, but also part of that urban community is, you know, you're going to have your gym. You're going to go downstairs and go to the gym. You can get your coffee in the morning. You can go to dinner at night. You can go to theater across the street. We think there's an untapped need for that, and I think there is, and we'll certainly find out. But doing some of our you know, due diligence on this project, this isn't something we've taken lightly. It's been 4 years in planning, a couple different uses during that time frame. But this use in itself has been going on for about the last year and a half or so. So we're excited about it. We wanted to meet with you informally, just to kind of kick around some maybe any major issues you might see with the project. We'll be submitting the actual formal application tomorrow with Judy and her team, who I will, again, say they've been great to deal with, the planning department, and we look forward to working with you on this project.
So it sounds like you're really bought into the walkable urbanism vision here, the low car, or ideally even no car lifestyle, people living down there, and talking about that as a way of reducing your parking demand. I personally am very much on board with that way of thinking when it comes to developments in the downtown. I would invite you, as you're having additional discussions with the city, with the parking authority, to also look at the possibility of a zip car or a zip car type of arrangement in that parking garage. If you're talking about bringing down your parking numbers, that's something I can only speak for myself that would make me look even more favorably upon bringing down.
It's funny, we've had discussions with that, with Zipcar already, and how that would go about, and they've embraced it if this should go forward as well. And they're not very popular in this area right now, but it seems like this is an area where they could be, especially if they have an area where demographics would work for them. But along those lines too, looking at urban studies show that only like 15 to 20% of these people actually have cars. So even though we're accommodating for the 68 spots, one per dwelling unit, we really don't think it's going to be an impact, because only 15 to 20% of them are actually going to have vehicles. And if we can incorporate, obviously the bike travel and walkability of downtown, I think it's a win for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if it really is only 15 to 20% of a
Ur-
market rate
Urban
luxury
dwellers, yeah.
in Lowell.
No,
I'd be thrilled.
in urban Boston and San Francisco, and I shouldn't really, I don't know if Lowell fits exactly those bills, but someone that wants to live in this type of environment, typically that's the number, only 15 to 20% own vehicles.
Yep,
With, Uber and Zipcar, it just makes sense.
yep. You'd mentioned the East Merrimack corridor there, this big, giving a boost to that. Couldn't agree more. In addition, it's close enough. There's also the Bridge Street corridor there at the end of downtown. I think that end of downtown where it goes over into East Merrimack Street is, it would certainly benefit from a greater residential presence like this. And it would be more than just East Merrimack Street. It would also be a great thing for downtown, too. Very positive about this. What are you thinking in terms of your commercial space? Looking at that, it looks like looking at the two umbrellas, almost a sidewalk seating for a restaurant type of situation?
Correct. So unfortunately, we didn't bring the floor plan. On the first floor, it's going to be retail. Oh, he does. Disregard. Okay, here it is. All right.
Here's our first floor plan. Again, this is Merrimack Street here, the main entrance for the residences off the Davis Street parking area. So what we have right now is, because this is a high rise, we have a lot of safety issues, fire command, sauna, sprinkler room, and all that. Up here is the members or residence lounge, is the pool spa area, a gym, massage area, tables. This whole wing here, about 4,500 square feet, is the proposed restaurant/coffee shop area.
I'm turned around. Where's Merrimack Street on this?
Right here.
Is on the bottom.
That's on the, so the whole restaurant
That's what you
area
mean by the
is going to
front.
be on the water.
Okay, I get it.
And this is the walkway along the river.
I love that you've got an entrance coming off of the walkway in addition to one coming off of Merrimack Street. Very thoughtful.
So we're going to push and emphasize that urban lifestyle where people can, we're going to put some small tables out, I hope, in the walkway like they've done downtown, out in the front of the building. We're going to try and incorporate, we met with a design group, restaurant design group yesterday. They absolutely were bananas over the site with the falls, up looking up the river and down the river in the Lower Locks Falls, and that whole level being glass. Is going to really be unbelievable. So it's an open space right now as we work with how we're going to incorporate a coffee bar with a restaurant and how that's going to work. But it's going to be really exciting to have outside space as well. So
Okay.
looking forward to it.
And this is our green area up front here, down at the first floor level. So the residence lounge opens up to patios and landscaping and lighting and very nice space.
So you will have some open space, that's nice, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
And right now we have none.
Yeah.
Zero.
And as they noted, there's going to be a 22% reduction. It might be a little bit more, 22 to 25% maybe reduction in impervious area. Right now, it's either rooftop or it's the asphalt in the back. So a 22% reduction in a redevelopment is substantial.
Excellent, excellent. And speaking of your rooftop, have you put any thought into doing a green roof?
We have,
Classy, it's a classy lifestyle item that you could show off to your.
yeah, we've had some informal discussions about that. When we looked at the overall reduction in impervious area, we said, at this point, we'll probably, be happy with the 22% reduction in the green, but we wouldn't rule out a green roof. Obviously, there's pros and cons to a green roof, upkeep and weight and those issues, and whether or not if we're putting mechanicals on the roof and green. We can work with those things, but those are some of the issues that were raised. But we would be open to it. But looking at the overall reduction in impervious area, we think we're really excited to see that.
Oh, sure, yeah, it's wonderful. It looks very nice. I just can't wait to see this come in with more detail.
Another thing that we were proposing, downtown Lowell doesn't have, and I've done a lot of mill redevelopments and everything downtown. If we have these glass balconies, 5 feet to 8 feet wide, and the higher you get up, you're looking right at I believe it's called a confluence.
Yeah.
Cotton River and the Merrimack River. It's got to be a spectacular view in all directions. So
Yeah.
it's
So So those are
Yep.
glass balconies? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's no need to go to the beach anymore. You got,
I don't know about that.
Mr. Chairman,
So you're gonna move there and come out of Plum Island, you mean?
yeah, you never know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mr. Chairman, just a question is, and it's right on the canal, is that in a floodplain?
No.
It is not? Okay,
Yeah, we're jacking way in, but
yeah.
Might as well say something, I'm here. Jack Sullivan, engineer for the project.
He asked me to ask that question, but.
Yeah, just get me off my seat. The 100-year flood is actually contained within the embankment walls of the Concord River.
Wow, that's an advantage, okay. Wow.
So that was actually a plus, because when we first looked at this, if the site was in a floodplain and we're building something back and we had to compensate, we don't really have the area to do it, but with the 2012 flood maps, it's all contained within
Yeah,
the
when I
banks.
started to look at that floor plan, and something's not right here if that's in a floodplain, but
Yep,
yeah, no,
yep.
very good, wow, big advantage.
Yep. And one of your questions earlier too is during demo and construction, there'll be safety netting along the banks of the river as well, just, in the chance anything fell in, so that was something we went through with conservation. You have to have OSHA-approved netting along the bank, so it's gonna be quite the project. And we have staging areas that we've set up for this project that we've worked out with city staff, and the city signed off on, where most of our sites, building area, we're gonna need areas to stage building materials, and we've worked out a plan that's been approved by the city as well. And that'll be part of the package you receive, showing how that's all gonna be done.
Dick, you have any questions, comments?
No, I think it's a very exciting project for the city. I think the rest of my colleagues here have asked most of the questions I would have asked, so we'll save my questions for the actual site plan review.
right.
Good
The
luck.
only other, one follow-up I'd have is, I know, Mr. Daly, on your previous projects, and even on your, one of the ones, your own building up there on Stedman Street, you're very satisfied with being green certified.
Yes.
So you plan on putting some of that into this project as well?
We haven't, I can tell you that's the way, I define my construction career now on building green, and I love to do it. So the emphasis on this will be on a green building. To what degree, we haven't decided yet based on final mechanicals, but we want this to be the hallmark. We won the Green Award back in 2010 with that building, and we're looking to win this in 2018 with this one. So I can tell you there's a number of programs that we're working on and working with. It's a combination of the architects, engineers, and Mass National Grid, and there's a number of players involved. So we are looking to make this a green building.
I'm sure the biggest part, easiest part, we'd like to do the lighting and everything else, all,
Yeah, yeah.
it's cheaper, it's easier, once
It's
you put it
great.
up.
The rebates are great. If you look at the economics of it, it just makes total sense. And, there's so many good programs out there for a project like this. Tying them all together is a little bit complex, but we look forward to doing that, and we look forward to making this the highlight of the commercial green projects in Lowell.
Mr. Daly, if I could just ask you one more question. Draw on your knowledge about development and real estate here. That commercial space, that restaurant that you're putting in on the first floor, do you expect the rent or the sales price of that to, in and of itself, to be a profitable thing, or do you offer that because it will make the residences more attractive?
It's a great question. As I noted earlier, we met with some restaurant and hotel designers that do restaurants, and to look at the space yesterday, and we took a walk, and we were talking about pricing and what the price per square foot for something like that would demand, and I made it clear, and I'll say it to you and everyone else, this isn't, the restaurant isn't about trying to, for us as the developer and owner of that space potentially, I have two things I've never got into in my business career is restaurants and bars, and I'm not going to get into them now. Leasing the space is different. So we want to make sure we have a really good tenant. We want to make sure that they have a lot of experience. We're looking potentially for but someone with a nationally well-known restaurateur that understands this marketplace. And, but more importantly, what I said to them is, I don't want a restaurant that every 2 years goes out of business. So we want to put it at a price point, A, that's affordable, but also so it's affordable for the tenant, and also for the people that reside there and are going to be, utilizing its services. So this isn't, I told them, the restaurant, I've actually, our architect can confirm this, that, we've tossed around the idea of a restaurant for a couple years as part of this project, but it was never, and a lot of people in the city have said to me, you got to put a restaurant there. You got to, the views are beautiful, and I wasn't supportive of it until we really kind of expanded upon this project and saw, wow, we could really get a great spot. You have parking here. There's a demand for it in that area. There's a demand for it in the city, I think. And so, the push is to get a responsible, well-established restaurateur that we're all going to be able to go to and afford, and it's going to be there for a long time.
So it sounds like it's really more of an asset in terms of making the residences appealing.
Correct.
As
It's
opposed
gonna-
to, okay.
Correct. It's more of an anchor for them to make that building work, and that's going to be the focus.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? No? No? Good luck with it. We'll see you on.
Thank you.
We'll see you on February 6th, the day after the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Have a winner. Super Bowl.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving along on the agenda, I know we have a few sets of minutes for approval, which we put over until after we completed the public portion of the hearing. Let's see, we'll start with, take them in order if I can. Let's see. Which is the first one? June 20th?
21st, right?
I think-
June 21st.
Yeah, on the agenda it says the 20th, but then on the minutes it says the 21st. So we'll go with the June 21st, I believe. Anybody have any questions about those minutes? Anybody have any corrections or comments on those?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to, that, what's that?
It's the 20th? Okay, the 20th, okay, yep, okay. So we'll change on the, just on the front there, Judy, it says June 21st, we'll change it to the 20th, as amended. Because on the agenda, it has the 20th, and then on the minutes itself, it says 21. So we'll just, that one amendment as requested by Dick, if we could, besides that, everybody else in order with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Fischett to approve, and I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving along, the next one is the August 15th, which was, we had Trotting Park Road, which was basically withdrawn, and then we had Middlesex Street, which was the charter school. And then we had the home zoning ordinance amendment, and then we had Smith Street as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody have any comments on those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 15.
I'll second.
Ms. Fischett made the motion, second by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's been approved. The next one's the August 17th. I know Judy gave us new sets of those today. I didn't have a chance to read those over, so I'll rely on whether anybody else on the board had a chance to look those over. I know we got those today, or if we need more time to put those over for the next meeting, whatever the wish of the board is.
On that document, just for clarity, the,
On these,
on the 17th.
Yep.
Yeah, 165 Thorndike Street, 01852, site plan review and special permit. Bold that The rest of them are bolded, so that you can see which, which item it is, and that one isn't, so it does, so you can't see what it's doing. The title, where you identify the new project after we've done the motion on 1288.1 Westford, it then goes on to 165 Thorndike Street, and it's just not as clear to see.
Right.
See?
Okay,
Yep.
oh, yeah,
Yep.
all right.
Just keeping the
Oh,
formatting.
just to make that more clear that
Yes,
it's
so
a
you can
new
see
item,
that's, that's the project.
new business.
Mr. Chairman, my only comment would be, this was this certainly was quite a project, and we had it in the mayor's reception room, and where you did not have an opportunity to review the revised minutes, my thought would be to just table this to the next meeting, if there's no problem with that.
Okay.
Give you ample time to just.
So we have a
review it.
motion to continue the minutes for 8/17 to our next meeting, which is in, I believe it's 2 weeks from tonight because of the
Yes.
Martin Luther King holiday, right?
Correct, we're on a Thursday.
We
Yes.
meet in 2 weeks, so today is the 5th and 14th, will be the 19th?
January 19th, yes.
So for August 17th, there's a motion to continue to January
Yep.
17th.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded by Mr. Fischett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that brings us to the last set of meetings, which is November 7th?
Yeah, that one I have not
Okay,
finished.
Yeah.
so we don't have to worry about that one. Okay, so we approved 2 and continued 1, okay?
Just a question for Judy. Judy, the meeting that we had in the mayor's reception room, that you had the cassette recorder,
Yes,
is that saved in
Yes.
perpetuity along with the minutes?
yes, I do have an MP3 file.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. 'Cause I was just concerned because there's an awful lot of dialogue. And I understand, and what we've said, especially where we have the LTC minutes, meetings recorded, the minutes don't necessarily have to be verbatim, capture the spirit of the hearing, and the conditions obviously are important.
Yes.
But I just wanted to make sure too that.
Yes, and
where-
I can, if anyone wants to review that, I can send you the file. It's not a big file.
Right.
And I mean, the recording actually is very clear.
I remember, Dick, you listened to it, you said, right?
I was not at that meeting.
And you listened to it?
I got a copy from Judy.
All right, good.
Came out
Yep.
good, huh?
And it was very good.
I know Judy's tested in the past, and we've done it
Yep.
before, but that one came out very clear? Good.
Okay, good, I just wanted to make sure, because again,
Sure, yeah.
we talked about, there was an awful lot of dialogue
Yeah.
at that meeting, and understood, I mean, we would have been, you would have had 15 pages of minutes.
Yeah.
Had you captured all of it. So,
15.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll revise those and look at those
Pages.
next meeting, okay?
Okay, good.
All right, any further comments from board members?
I wanted to bring something up, Mr. Chairman, actually regarding that particular project. That was the condition the permit we issued much earlier in the process than we normally do, when there was quite a bit of work left to be done in terms of talking with the applicant about the final design. It went well beyond our usual work with DPD to finalize a landscaping plan, by which we generally mean come back to us at some point with a landscaping plan that DPD is okay with. In this case, we've gone beyond that. There's a lot of the design and negotiation and permitting approval work that's left to do on this project. And my concern is that I do not want to be presented with a fait accompli plan by the applicant that hasn't gotten the level of scrutiny and back and forth from the staff that we intended when we issued that permit. I was in the office a little while ago. I didn't get a call back, though. Has Sal or anybody been in since that meeting to work with you on the project?
Yes, so I can give you a status of the project. So a set of plans has been submitted for a building permit. So they are in the process of actually getting the building permit. And they do have so the landscape plan and, of course, the traffic, the turn lane were the two big issues. So usually with the landscape plan, we will work with the applicant and make sure it's finalized before occupancy. And they can certainly come back to the board if you want to look at the landscape plan before that's finalized. But we have not seen a final landscape plan yet. What we have seen is the site plan that shows a right turn in, right turn out only. And because that was a condition the city has applied for and received the MassWorks grant. And so the other condition with regard to that was that the applicant would pay for the design piece for that grant, because MassWorks grants do not include design. They include construction only. So until the applicant provides the design fee and pays the design fee, they cannot have a left turn in or left turn out on that project. So the plans that they've submitted are for right turn in, right turn out only. And that's the way it will remain, according to the condition, until they provide the funds for the design of that left turn lane.
And that would still have to come back before us a modification anyways, correct? Because we voted for it just to make it the one way. So we didn't approve, even if the road was widened, we didn't say we'd automatically give it to you.
Let's see.
You know, I mean, so he can go and do it. We said, what I indicated at the end of that meeting was, you could always come back, work with the traffic engineer, and if you get the widening of the road, you can come back before us again, and if that was something that you could work out with the city, then we can consider approving it. So, we only approved what Nick requested at that time. We did not say, if you come in and get it widened, you automatically get it. And I was quite clear about that. And I'm pretty sure you'll hear that on the tape, because so we only said, I asked Nick, and it was partially in the other minutes, about, I asked Sal if there was discussion about widening the road with Nick, and they said they talked about it briefly, but the motion was to have just the right, was it? He wanted to go left out, yeah, and we said we approved it for the right turn only, and if he wanted to come back, he'd have to come back before the board again for modification.
Yeah.
So we didn't say you're gonna get it later once you get the road widened.
Right.
Yeah, so basically, if the road gets widened, we said he can work with transportation, then come back, and we would, and I think basically that's what I said to the man. I said, you got everything you wanted, and now you're not getting one thing, and now you wanna sit here and say you wanna table it. And I said, well, no, we're voting for it one way or another. You brought it here, you were the one who said time was of the essence, you brought all these people down here, you want it, we're voting it this way, you wanna come back for modification? After Sal spoke with his staff people, they agreed, they would accept it as it was, and they would, if they could work with the traffic engineer in the future to come back, I said, we do that on a regular basis, plans get amended, if the road got widened, and I think, even Nick said, if it got widened, so I mean, obviously, if he wants that turn in the future, if it gets widened, then they can come back before us. So I think that was quite clear.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, to that point, when you look at the conditions, the section that says the city has drawn preliminary plans showing the necessary improvements which would allow left turns into the development. These improvements include new traffic signals at Gallagher Station, Highland Street, Hale Street, Highland, and Highland, the widening of Thorndike to include a center left lane. Left turns out to the development would still be restricted during peak traffic hours. These roadway improvements, and this is the operative word here, may be constructed in the following ways.
Right.
And it's giving the example. It doesn't say will be, but it's may be constructed. So we're giving it examples of how it may be constructed. This is how we would do it. Apply for the funds. The applicant would pay for the design. But it does not say that it
Right.
will be. It says it may be.
Because I know Jerry made that motion on the site plan, and then I'm the one who made the 3 motions on the special permit. I know on the first draft of the minutes, we only had the 1 motion for the special permit, and there was actually 3. One to do with the building, one to do with the parking, and the last one escaped.
Yeah, and I think that the third one was parking. I did include that in this
Yeah, so
version.
so I mean, as far as that's concerned, I mean, if, and that was something Nick said, once with these improvements, then he'd be satisfied, I mean, that he could be satisfied, I think. If we thought it was improvements, then obviously we'd have to see the new design, how it would go in, how it would come out, so.
Excuse me,
Not
Judy?
paramount that he gets it automatically, but he'd have to, the conditions stand as is until it comes in for modification.
Yes.
That way you remember,
Yes,
Jerry? I mean, you made the first motion, then my motion was, and I haven't seen the new minutes today, because I've been in court all day, so I didn't have a chance to read them. I didn't get out of court till 4:30, so I rushed home. But on that, So in that condition, I mean, it was basically, you know, and I remember saying to the van, you know, work with traffic, you can always come back for modification, and that's when
Yes.
they said they could do so.
Yes, the language that's in the minutes now reads, access to the proposed site from Thorndike Street should be limited to right-in, right-out movements only. The driveway entrance should be constructed with a channelization island to prevent vehicles from turning left into and out of the parking lots. Now, here's the important line. This restriction should be in place as long as Thorndike Street remains in its current 4-lane configuration.
Right.
So,
But even when it gives the example of the changes.
Yes.
And even if we get the changes, it says it may be constructed. And again, when we get into zoning.
Right.
May versus will, the operative word there.
Exactly.
So it's saying, if we're going to entertain it, this is how we would go about it, as mapped out by Nick, at that meeting. So, I mean, that's how I would.
Right, and in order for it to be allowed, they would have to come back.
and so my question is, do we think that this restriction should remain in place as long as Thorndike Street remains in its current 4-lane configuration? Does that adequately express our intent and adequately cover us with how we want this to work?
I'm not sure, since I haven't read it. I
Right.
mean, I'll digest it, and then maybe we can bring that up. I'll make some suggestions for next meeting. But it should be, you know, the right turn remains in effect until otherwise approved by the planning board.
Yes, exactly. Has a permit been issued with this language stamped and recorded and everything gone out from the city?
Yes, yeah, well, the decision has been recorded.
Right.
Yes.
So my question's a bit moot.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
But I mean, the main thing, they'd have to come back for that. Because the condition was right turn in, right turn out.
yep.
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 That's an example of it, but we can amend the conditions, I mean, on the minutes, yeah.
And the landscape language is very comparable to what we often do with our landscape plans, but it's this traffic one that is
Right, that's the main
special
thing,
and needs a lot more talking. Okay. My purpose in bringing this up is, I think that procedurally, the earlier and the more often he's in talking to the DPD staff, the better. I don't want a situation where he's spent all the money on engineering and is leaning hard because he doesn't want to have to re-engineer his plan to do something that could have been engineered into it in the first place if he'd gotten in on time to talk to you. And I don't want a situation where we're presented with a fait accompli plan and, oh my God, you have to approve this, and it hasn't gotten enough attention from the DPD. I think that, particularly on this traffic thing, that our intention isn't purely product, but is also process. We want to make sure the applicant is putting enough effort into connecting with DPD, and Nick is having enough of a say into the process of how that is being done. I'm wondering, is there anything we can do or anything we should do at this time to kind of provide that little bit of encouragement to make sure he's getting in enough to the DPD?
Well, there's quite a lot of discussion. There's a lot of interaction with Nicholas, with the building department, with myself, so that the project is being scrutinized. It's definitely being looked at by all development services, by the whole planning department.
Okay.
Judy, may I ask a question about the design and engineering? In these minutes in the decision, it states the city will apply for the federal state grant to construct the widening, and the applicant should be responsible for providing approximately 20% of the cost to cover engineering. And you say that the grant will not cover any of the engineering?
Right, so engineering is so that's design.
Okay.
Design engineering, yes, typically the grants only cover construction.
Okay, so in clarifying that point, there was discussion a few minutes ago about the applicant being responsible for the design
Yes.
costs.
Yes.
Does that 20% represent the design portion of the engineering?
Yes, yes.
Has there been any approximation determined yet of what that cost is? And has there been a request submitted to the developer?
Yes, I believe there has. When MassWorks gives us a grant, they will give us a grant, and it's based on our application and our estimate for the construction, and they will verify that. They usually will, agree with that. That goes through Mass DOT. So there was a figure, and I believe it was a little bit over 2 million. So what they do, and Nicholas explained this to me the other day, what they do is they estimate the entire cost of the project, including the design, and then they subtract the design, and they give the city, they award the city the funds for construction. Because they're assuming that we will be getting design funds from either our own funds or some other grant that we receive. So all of that is worked out through the grant process. So it did come out to a little over $2 million.
But my question is specifically related to the design and the applicant's responsibility.
Yep.
Has that been defined and requested at this point?
As far as I know, it has, yes.
Do we have any sense of what that amount is?
So that would be approximately 200,000.
Okay, so it's a percentage of the
Yes.
total project?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Believe
That would represent about 10% of the
that's
project.
10%. Well, yeah, and so Nicholas mentioned $200,000 to me, and when I look at the 20% here, so this covers more than just engineering, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, permitting, and other costs. So he worked in addition to the design, other cost, which would be 20% of, so it actually would come out to closer to 400,000. But I would have to talk to him to get those exact figures.
But has the request been submitted to the developer?
As far as I know, yes.
Thank you, that was my, there was such a sense of urgency for this project to move forward. The grant was secured in record time.
Right.
I would hate to see, things bogged down, because of the lack of those funds.
Any other board members have any comments, or any follow-up notifications for the other board members? And I know we got an update today from Christine, so we know it's on for the next 2 meetings. And I know Jerry has some of the plans for the next meeting. So if we have no other comments for this evening, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second?
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Chairman votes yes. We have adjourned. Good night. Thank you, everyone. You got a quiet meeting, Patrick, for your first night.